I'm Margaret Chen, and I never thought I'd return from burying my mother to find strangers sleeping in my bed. But when I walked through my front door at 2 in the morning, exhausted from the worst week of my life, that's exactly what I found. A young couple I'd never seen before was making coffee in my kitchen, acting like they owned the place. And that's when I discovered what my daughter-in-law had been doing while I was saying goodbye to the woman who raised me. Let me back up. I'm 62 years old and I spent 35 years building Chen and Associates, a commercial real estate firm in Portland, Oregon. My late husband David and I started it in our garage back in '89. After he passed 4 years ago, I threw myself into work. It was either that or drown in grief. My son Ryan is my only child, and when he married Victoria 3 years ago, I wanted to believe I was gaining a daughter. I really did. Victoria was charming at first. 28 years old, worked in digital marketing, always had these ambitious ideas about passive income and side hustles. She'd talk about Airbnb properties and investment strategies over Sunday dinners. I thought she was entrepreneurial. Turns out she was just calculating. My mother lived in Sacramento, about an hour's flight away. When she had her stroke in mid-October, I dropped everything. I spent 9 days at her bedside, watching her slip away. She passed on a Tuesday evening, and I stayed for the funeral and to handle her affairs. 16 days total. The longest I'd been away from my Portland house in probably a decade. Ryan called me every day. "How are you holding up, Mom?" Victoria texted condolences, sent flowers to the funeral home. They seemed supportive. I was grateful. I was also a complete fool. I landed at PDX just before midnight on a Tuesday. I'd told Ryan I was taking a late flight, that I didn't need him to pick me up, that I just wanted to get home and sleep in my own bed. I took a rideshare from the airport, my suitcase full of my mother's photo albums and her jewelry box. Everything felt heavy. My grief, my exhaustion, my carry-on bag. My house is in the West Hills, a quiet neighborhood where everyone knows everyone. It's a 4-bedroom Craftsman I'd lived in for 23 years. David and I raised Ryan there. Every corner had a memory. As the car pulled up, I noticed the porch light was on. Odd, because I always turned it off when I left. But maybe Ryan had come by to check on things. I unlocked the door and immediately heard voices, music playing softly, the smell of someone else's cooking. My heart started pounding. Had I been robbed? I flipped on the hallway light and a young man in his 20s appeared from my kitchen, holding one of my mugs. "Oh, hey, you must be Margaret," he said casually, like we were old friends. "Victoria said you might stop by. I'm Tyler. This is an amazing property. The master bedroom has such good light in the mornings." I stood there, my suitcase still in my hand, trying to process what he'd just said. The master bedroom, my bedroom, where I'd slept next to my husband for 19 years before he died, where I'd cried myself to sleep after his funeral. "I'm sorry," I said slowly, "but who are you and why are you in my house?" A young woman emerged from the hallway, my hallway, wearing yoga pants and one of the decorative throws from my living room couch wrapped around her shoulders. "Oh my God, Tyler, I told you to lock the door." "Hi, I'm Sienna. We're checking out tomorrow morning. Do you need us to leave early?" Because the listing said checkout was 11. Listing, checkout. The words weren't making sense. "What listing?" Tyler pulled out his phone and showed me. There it was. My house. My living room with David's grandfather's bookshelf. My kitchen with the subway tile we'd installed 3 years ago. My deck overlooking the city. All on Airbnb. Portland West Hills luxury home, perfect for couples and small families. Listed by Victoria C. 5-star reviews, 23 of them. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "This is my house," I whispered. "Yeah." Victoria mentioned the owner was cool with it, Sienna said, looking uncomfortable now. "We paid $280 a night for 3 nights. Look, we can just go if there's been some kind of mix-up. $280 a night. I did the math in my head while standing in my own foyer like an intruder. They'd been here 3 nights. That was $840. How many other guests had there been? How long had this been going on? "How did you book this?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Tyler showed me the listing again, posted 3 months ago. The first review was from late July. 4 months. Victoria had been renting out my house for 4 months. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened Airbnb, created an account, searched for my own address, and there it was. My home, described in Victoria's words. Stunning craftsman in exclusive West Hills neighborhood. Recently renovated kitchen, office space perfect for remote work, peaceful master suite, hot tub on deck. All true, all mine. All being sold to strangers while I went to work every day. The calendar showed I was booked solid for the next 6 weeks. Every weekend, some weeknights. The reviews painted a picture I couldn't believe. Victoria was so helpful and responsive. The house was immaculate. She left wine and fresh flowers. Highly recommend staying here. I scrolled through the numbers. Victoria had set the price at $250 to $320 per night depending on the season. I counted bookings, calculated. She'd made approximately $34,000 from my house. While I was at work, while I was burying my mother. I need you both to leave, I said quietly. Right now. But it's 2 a.m, Sienna protested. And we paid for. I will refund you personally through Venmo right now for your entire stay plus $200 for your trouble. This is my house. I did not authorize this listing. My daughter-in-law has been committing fraud. You need to leave immediately before I call the police. The word fraud got their attention. They were packed and out the door in 12 minutes. I sent them $300 to cover a hotel. They deserved it. They were victims too, in a way. After they left, I walked through my house, really looked at it. The furniture had been rearranged to look more staged. My personal photos were gone, replaced with generic art from HomeGoods. My bathroom cabinets had been emptied of my medications and toiletries, replaced with hotel-style mini shampoos. My bedroom closet, where I kept my clothes, had been stripped. Everything was in storage boxes in the garage. My home had been turned into a rental property. I found a binder in the kitchen drawer labeled Hosting Info, Victoria's handwriting, instructions for guests, Wi-Fi password, checkout procedures, house rules, please don't move any furniture, coffee and tea provided. Enjoy the hot tub but no glass containers on the deck. She'd thought of everything. I sat on my couch, the couch I'd picked out with David in 2008, and I cried. Not just because of the violation, not just because of the betrayal, but because I'd been so stupid. How had I not known? How had strangers been sleeping in my home while I was at work, and I never noticed? Then I got angry. Really angry. The kind of anger that burns cold and clear and focused. I opened my laptop. I was going to document everything. First, I took photos. Every room. The rearranged furniture, the storage boxes in my garage, the Airbnb binder, the listing on my phone. I downloaded every review, every booking date, every message Victoria had sent to guests. I created a spreadsheet calculating her earnings. Then I checked my security system. I had cameras at the front door and back door, installed after a neighborhood break-in 2 years ago. I never really looked at the footage unless I was going to be gone for a while. I opened the app and started scrolling back. July 15th, a family of 4 with suitcases at my front door. Victoria letting them in, smiling, handing them keys. She had keys to my house. Of course she did. I'd given them to her when Ryan moved in with her. July 29th, a couple in their 30s. August 5th, 2 women with yoga mats. August 19th, a business traveler with a rolling bag. I watched video after video, Victoria greeting guests, giving them tours, hugging them goodbye. She was good at this. Professional, friendly. She'd leave flowers on the kitchen counter. She'd even hired a cleaning service. I found the receipt in the binder. Sparkle Clean PDX, $180 per turnover. She was running a whole operation. On August 23rd, she brought someone else. A man I didn't recognize. They were carrying my David's vintage record collection out to a truck. His records, his Beatles' first pressings. His collection he'd spent 40 years building. She was selling my dead husband's belongings. I couldn't watch anymore. It was 4 a.m. I called Ryan. Mom, are you okay? Did you just get in? Ryan, is Victoria there with you? Yeah, she's asleep. Mom, what's wrong? You sound weird. I need you both to come to my house right now. Don't ask questions, just come. It's 4 a.m. I know what time it is. Be here in 30 minutes or I'm calling the police. The police? Mom, you're scaring me. 30 minutes, Ryan. I hung up and made coffee. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I was past shock, past hurt. I was in the cold, calculating space where I did my best work. I'd built a commercial real estate empire by being smarter than everyone else at the table. I'd negotiated million-dollar deals with developers who tried to cheat me. I knew how to play chess. I pulled up my contact list and texted my attorney, James Morrison. He'd been my friend since law school. Emergency. Need you first thing in the morning. Client fraud situation. Substantial money involved. Then I called my cousin, Sarah Chen. Sarah was a detective with Portland PD. We didn't talk often, but we were family. She answered on the third ring, groggy. Margaret? What's wrong? I need to report a crime. Not officially yet. I need advice first. Can you come to my house around 7? What kind of crime? Fraud, theft, unauthorized use of property. About $34,000 worth. She was suddenly awake. I'll be there at 6:30. Ryan and Victoria arrived at 4:40. Victoria looked nervous. Good. She should be. Mom, what's going on? Ryan said as they came in. You sounded really upset on the phone. I gestured to my laptop, open on the kitchen counter showing the Airbnb listing. This is what's going on. Care to explain, Victoria? Her face went white, then red. Then she did something I wasn't expecting. She smiled. Oh, Margaret, let me explain. I was going to tell you. This was supposed to be a surprise. A surprise. Yes. Look, I know you've been stressed about money since David passed. The business isn't what it used to be, right? I mean, you've mentioned wanting to downsize. So I thought, why not generate some passive income from the house? You're barely here anyway. You work 12-hour days. I was trying to help. I stared at her. The audacity was breathtaking. Help. You were trying to help by renting out my house without my knowledge or permission. I was going to give you the money. I was saving it. I wanted to surprise you with a big check. $30,000. Imagine what you could do with that. $34,000 actually. I've calculated it. I turned the laptop to show my spreadsheet. $34,800 over 4 months, minus your cleaning service costs and whatever you skimmed off the top. Ryan was looking between us, confused. Victoria. What is she talking about? I've been hosting guests at your mom's house on Airbnb, Victoria said, her voice suddenly defiant. It's a beautiful property in a prime location. It was sitting empty most of the time. I saw an opportunity. An opportunity to commit fraud, I said coldly. You don't own this house, Victoria. You weren't authorized to rent it. You've been taking money for a property that isn't yours. That's theft. I was going to give you the money. Then why didn't you? Why didn't you tell me? Why did you rearrange my furniture, remove my belongings, and sell my husband's record collection? Ryan turned to her. You did what? It was just stuff, Victoria said, and now I could hear the panic creeping into her voice. Clutter. I was staging the house properly. Those records were just collecting dust. Those records were David's, I said, my voice breaking despite myself. His Beatles' first pressings alone were worth $8,000. His Stones collection, his Hendrix. You sold them to some dealer on Craigslist for, what, $500? I'd found the message thread in her email. She'd logged into the Airbnb account using the home computer, and apparently she'd also used it to arrange the sale of David's records. Sloppy. Criminals always make mistakes when they think they're smarter than everyone else. I needed the space, Victoria said. The closet was full of his old clothes, too. Clothes from a dead man. You were never going to wear them. You're never going to listen to those records. I was clearing out junk so the house would look better for guests. Ryan stood up. Victoria, what the hell is wrong with you? Don't you start, she snapped at him. Your mother has more money than she knows what to do with. This house is worth $1.2 million, and she just sits on it. I saw a way to make money from unused space. That's not a crime. That's business. It literally is a crime, I said. It's called fraud and theft, and probably a few other charges my attorney and my cousin from Portland PD will help me identify when they get here in about 2 hours. Victoria's face changed. The confidence drained out. You're calling the police? I am. Mom, wait, Ryan said. Let's just talk about this. Victoria made a mistake. A really big mistake, but she's family. Family doesn't sell your dead father's belongings without asking. Family doesn't turn your home into a hotel while you're burying your mother. I looked at Victoria. Did you even think about what would happen if I came home early? If I walked in on strangers in my house? I was tracking your calendar, Victoria said quietly. I knew when you'd be home. I made sure the house was cleared before you got back. Tonight was supposed to be empty. Those people weren't supposed to extend their stay. She'd been tracking my calendar, watching my schedule, planning around my life. The premeditation of it was almost impressive. How long were you planning to keep this going? I asked. She didn't answer. Because I looked at your calendar. You have bookings through March, 6 more months. You were planning to do this indefinitely, weren't you? Just keep renting my house and pocketing the money. I was going to tell you, she said again, but her voice was smaller now. No, you weren't. You were going to keep going until you got caught, or until you'd milked this for everything it was worth. How much were you planning to make? 50,000? 100,000? Ryan sat down, his head in his hands. I can't believe this. Victoria, how could you do this to my mom? Your mom doesn't need the money, Victoria shot back. She has the business. She has savings. She has her inheritance from your grandmother now. What's $30,000 to her? It's not about the money, I said, and I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. It's about you violating my home, treating my property like it's yours, making business decisions about my life without my consent, and lying. Constantly lying. Every text you sent me while I was in Sacramento. How are you holding up? And let me know if you need anything. You were lying the whole time. I was trying to be supportive. You were covering your tracks. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Victoria tried a different approach. Margaret, please. I made a mistake. I got carried away. But think about Ryan. Think about our marriage. If you press charges, I could go to jail. Is that what you want? To destroy your son's marriage? And there it was. The manipulation, the weaponization of Ryan's love, the assumption that I'd roll over because she was married to my child. My son married a woman who committed fraud against his mother, I said. That marriage might already be destroyed. You just haven't figured it out yet. Ryan looked up. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know anything about this. I believed him. Ryan wasn't a criminal. He was just weak. He'd always been weak when it came to women. He'd let Victoria make all the decisions in their relationship. But that wasn't my problem to fix anymore. I know you didn't know, I said gently. This isn't about you. But it is about me, he said. She's my wife. If you prosecute her, it affects me too. Then, you need to decide who you're standing with. The woman who committed crimes against your mother, or your mother. Victoria's face hardened. Fine. You want to play it that way? Go ahead. Press charges. But you should know I have documentation of every time you asked me to handle things for you. Every time you gave me your passwords. Every time you said I should make myself at home. I'll tell them you knew. I'll tell them this was a joint venture and you're only mad because I wasn't giving you a big enough cut. Except I have security camera footage of you sneaking guests in and out when I wasn't home. I have your Airbnb account with your name on it. I have your handwriting in the hosting binder. I have text messages where you told guests the owner is away and the owner doesn't know about this arrangement yet. You documented your own crime, Victoria. You were sloppy. She paled. You don't have text messages. You used the house computer to access your Airbnb account. You stayed logged in. I have screenshots of everything. I did. 347 screenshots. Every message, every booking, every review. Sarah arrived at 6:30 as promised. She was in jeans and a sweater, off-duty but all business. I showed her everything, the listing, the earnings calculation, the security footage, the evidence of David's records being sold. This is pretty clear-cut, Sarah said, looking at Victoria. Fraud, theft, possibly tax evasion if you didn't report this income. The dollar amount puts it in felony territory. I want to press full charges, I said. Mom, please, Ryan begged. I'm sorry, honey, but she needs to face consequences. James arrived at 8. By 9, we were at the police station. Victoria was crying, Ryan was pale, and I was numb. Sarah walked us through the process. I gave my statement. handed over my documentation, signed the forms. Victoria was arrested on a Friday morning, booked on charges of fraud, theft, and operating an unlicensed business. The bail was set at $20,000. Ryan paid it. Of course he did. The Airbnb account was shut down within hours. I had to personally contact and refund 23 sets of guests who had bookings. Most were understanding when I explained the situation. A few threatened to leave bad reviews before I explained there would be no reviews because the listing was fraudulent and the police were involved. The story made the local news. Portland woman arrested for running Airbnb scam from mother-in-law's home. The headlines were embarrassing, but I didn't care. Victoria's mugshot was on the evening news. Her employer, a digital marketing firm downtown, called me to apologize. They fired her the next day. Ryan moved back in with me temporarily. He was devastated. His wife was facing felony charges. His marriage was imploding. He slept in his childhood bedroom and barely spoke. "I should have known," he said one night over dinner. "There were signs. She was always secretive about money. She had new clothes, new bags, but I thought she was just good at budgeting." "You wanted to trust her," I said. "That's not a flaw. It is when she's stealing from my mother." Victoria's attorney tried to negotiate. Drop the charges, they'd return the money, she'd do community service. I refused. James negotiated hard. Restitution of $34,800 plus the estimated value of David's records at $12,000. Victoria would plead guilty to reduced charges. She'd serve 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from my property. Ryan filed for divorce 3 weeks after her arrest. "I can't look at her," he told me. "Every time I do, I see her selling Dad's records on Craigslist like they were garage sale junk." The money was repaid in full by December. Victoria's parents liquidated some investments to cover it. They called to apologize, embarrassed by their daughter. I was gracious. It wasn't their fault they raised a thief. Victoria served her time at Coffee Creek Correctional Facility. She got out last month. I heard through Ryan that she moved to Seattle, changed her name on social media, and was trying to rebuild her life. I don't wish her ill, but I don't forgive her either. My house is mine again. I had it professionally cleaned, bought new furniture for the rooms she'd staged, put David's photos back up. I kept the security cameras. I check them obsessively now. I probably always will. Ryan's doing better. He's in therapy. He's dating someone new, a school teacher named Amanda, who seems kind and normal, and most importantly, not interested in passive income schemes. I think about Victoria sometimes, about how she must have felt, seeing my house and seeing opportunity, about how she justified it to herself, about the moment she decided to cross the line from "I could do this" to "I'm going to do this." But mostly I think about the lesson. Trust is earned, not given, even family, especially family. And when someone violates that trust, you don't make excuses. You don't minimize it. You hold them accountable. Because $34,000 wasn't really what this was about. It was about someone looking at my grief, my absence, my life, and seeing a business opportunity. It was about someone treating my home like an asset to be exploited rather than a space that held every memory of the man I loved. And that's unforgivable. Even from family. Maybe especially from family. I'm Margaret Chen. I built a business. I buried a husband and a mother. And I survived my daughter-in-law turning my home into a hotel. If you're reading this, or hearing this, learn from my mistake. Document everything. Check your security cameras. And never, ever give anyone keys to your house without keeping one eye open. Because trust is a gift. And some people will take that gift and sell it on Craigslist for $500.